Hi, I'm Dani, a hopeless romantic storyteller who once thought she needed a master's in creative writing to actually finish a novel. I was also an English teacher for over 20 years, and if there is one thing that those years have taught me, is this. People learn better when they follow their instincts, not when they force themselves into structure. And today, first of all, I want to welcome you to the writing shed. And I also want to show you the 5 minute habit that helped me go from I can't write to I wrote today. Even when life was messy and my days were full, busy with all the stuff that life gets busy with. So if you've ever felt uncreative, stuck, or too busy to write, just stay with me. This video will change things a bit for you. And at the end, I will share the exact thing that helped me break out of my writing rut. So let's start with the truth. Most people wait for perfect time to write. You know, that mythical hour where the house is spotless and quiet, the coffee is warm, and your brain suddenly becomes Elizabeth Gilbert or Jane Austen or Emily Bronte or Stephen King. So I need to tell you that hour, that time rarely exists. And every time we wait for it, we get caught in that cycle of perfection, guilt, avoidance. I had one of those moments at my desk. I mean, many of those moments. Coffee next to me, my page staring back at me, and I swear I could notice he was judging me. You know, that quiet feeling of, I want to write, but I don't have time, or I don't know what to write, or I haven't got inspiration, or I don't know where to start. And then I just thought, okay, 5 minutes. I can do 5 minutes. So what I did was I set a timer, I picked one prompt, and I just free wrote. No pressure. 5 tiny minutes. You can find 5 minutes in a day, right? And sometimes I even time it with music, which is brilliant. I love music to write, but I'll talk about this in another video. So 5 tiny minutes, and that's it. And by the way, the moment I stopped aiming for perfect long sessions of writing, everything changed. And I'll tell you why in a minute. But another thing that made a huge difference for me was prompts. And honestly, sometimes our brains can just freeze when we sit down and we command ourselves to think of something brilliant. You know, that perfect idea for a novel, that perfect beginning for a story. Or if you are already writing something, the continuation to the flow. Um, and even like with the AI nowadays, sometimes we just think, oh my gosh, I'm going to write with something that other people invented for me. But stay with me. Sometimes prompts bypass that part of our brain completely, the part that is stuck, the part that doesn't know how to begin or where to begin. The prompts can open a window. When I was a teacher, these prompts, they always helped my students find their confidence. And for certain, they've helped me on those days that I felt less creative and boring because I didn't have any inspiration, which, by the way, is more common than you think, especially for someone who also writes every day. Prompts, I just want you to think about that. Prompts, they aren't cheating, they are actually igniting. And I love this word igniting because it's all about the spark. All you need is the first spark, isn't it? And for example, one of the presents I have for you at the end of this video, I'll tell you a little bit about it now, which is a writing prompt calendar. I created one for myself and I would just close my eyes, put my finger on one line, and that was it. And then, for example, off the top of my head, write about the last thing that made you smile. And then what happens is suddenly I wasn't stuck anymore. I was writing because who can't remember about the last thing that makes them smile? Everybody can. And then there's this thing that no one talks about, that you need to be a creative person, or sometimes you say, I'm not creative at all. But what I'm here to tell you is that creativity grows in tiny slots of time, in tiny bits of inspiration from your own life, from the life happening around you. And life is busy. And I love my life chaos sometimes in the cutest way. I have a day job, I have a home to look after, I have a husband, I have a dog that needs me and is kind of a Velcro dog. You will see him here sometime. His name is Cookie. So I have my dreams to go after. I have, like I said, my family, my friends, a to-do list that never end. And I don't always have a whole hour, but I have 5 minutes while my kettle is boiling, and I have 5 minutes when I'm sat here after lunch. I'm twiddling my fingers, and or it's raining and I won't take the dog for a walk, or a few minutes or a lot of minutes on the train while commuting to work or going somewhere. And that little nibble of time at lunch, like I said, or sleepy minutes before you go to bed. And when you wake up a few minutes before your alarm, tiny, tiny windows that make a big, big difference. And the more I started using this, the more I wanted to do it. So those micro sessions of writing started to create a kind of emotional reward spark. I love the analogy. And that spark became motivation, and that motivation slowly became a routine. I wrote a novel based in Naples, in Italy, and some of the scenes in my novel were born from 5 minute scribbles in a notebook from kind of a podium. I'll tell that story one day as well. In the flat I lived, which was the only place I could get internet signal for my laptop in my flat. And one day I was just on the bus journaling about a street that I missed in Naples, and it just became a scene. And it's surprising how things around you can help you write. So here's the biggest myth I want to break today. You don't need confidence first, because confidence comes from writing, comes from the practice. So it's the result of what you're doing, not the entry ticket for what you want to do. I had so many hesitations. I used to tell myself that classic, oh, I'll start when I feel ready. Oh, I'll call my muse another time. Or, like all this kind of excuses. But the moment I committed to 5 minutes, literally, sometimes it ended up being 40 words, 50 words, everything shifted. Even my students used to say, Danny, that tiny little bit felt doable. And then I wanted to keep going. Because when we start doing it with little bits, we get curious. And curiosity is the most amazing and magical thing. So just think about it. You don't need to start with a masterpiece. And you don't need to end with a masterpiece in a week or in a month. All you need to start is a moment. Think about that. So, if today's video gave you even the tiniest spark, take this as your nudge. I tend to say that I'm a nudger, right? So, I will talk about this in a different video, but I like to think of myself as that friend that is standing by you at the edge of a ballroom and you were terrified to get into the dance floor. And I'll just give you a little nudge, a gentle push, and say, come on, the floor is yours. Just go. So take this tiniest spark this video gave you as a gentle invitation to write for 5 minutes today. And obviously, if you want a companion to guide you, there are two resources that I created for you. And they are present, they're free, and I think that you will love them. I linked them in the video description below. One of these resources is called the Writing Shed Calendar. 16 months filled with daily prompts and tiny little sparks to get your creative juices flowing. And also, if you are more ambitious and you think you have a novel in you, I've also created a novel starter planner for the moment your 5 minutes turn into a story. You will find both resources linked below in the description. And if you'd like more cozy writing moments with me, and if you'd like to be part of the Writing Shed, come join us in the Writing Shed Club. It's my favorite corner of the internet, and I'm sure you're going to love it. So if you think you would like the key, just click below. Okay, so welcome to my Writing Shed. This is my first video. I hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel, leave your comments or questions below, and let's keep writing one tiny moment at a time. I'll see you soon.